everyone, welcome back. I'm Vanette from Comp Chaser, and we are in part 2 of 8 of our typical branding fall series. So last week we covered functional, no inspired why, and this week we are covering indistinct everyone persona. I always like to say that if you're for everyone, you're for no one, right? So like a lot of times I see like brands go like, my products and services are for everyone. I'm like, that's fantastic. Of course, we want to capture as many people as possible, but does not mean that necessarily your brand is an everyone brand. Because when you think of the word everyone, you really think of no one, right? It just becomes kind of blurry, indistinct faces and traits of personality. And that means it's not sticky, right? So like if you remember from week 1, part 1, it's all about like that emotional aspiration, right? Because at the end of the day, brands contribute to our individual identities. And this is very, very subconscious. This is not something that customers and consumers are conscious of necessarily. Branding is a very subconscious task per se. So I like to say that like we kind of use brands and products as like almost like a hermit crab, right? Like I buy into like reusable Swell water bottles, for example. I buy into, I'm a manic panic girly with my hair dye. That says something about me. I wear Doc Martens as like my go-to shoes. That says something about me versus, wearing Louis Vuittons is something that says something very different about me as well. So I actually encourage you to go around your house or your closet or whatever it is and just take a look at all these brands that you're either consciously or subconsciously already buying into and think about like, what does that say about you as a human being, right? The end of the day, it's like, what does this brand say about me? We are all very self-centered, focused people, and it's all about me at the end of the day. So if you kind of remember in the early 2010s, like Tom shoes exploded and everyone wanted to get their hands on a pair of Tom shoes and wear it. And to be really honest, my agency at the time, like we brought into the trend, like everyone's wearing Tom shoes, and it's not necessarily the most comfortable, durable shoe. It's not a pretty shoe. It reminds me of like a bad Kung Fu shoe, but like seeing that Tom's blue flag says to everyone else and says to myself, or the person that's wearing it, I'm a good person. I support Toms. I am donating money to, the children of Africa that need shoes, which is what this brand was all about. At the end of the day, reminder, it's aspiration, not reality, mindset, not demographics, right? So it's always good to know like demographically who we're going after. We're going after, let's just say like 30 to 40-year-old women that like live in coastal elite areas, for example. Like that's great, but there's a shared mindset that transcends the demographics that you've set as your target North Star consumer. So this is Nike, of course, right? So if they think your dreams are crazy, show them what crazy dreams can do. Just do it. Very like iconic, typical Nike ad. Their aspirational mindset that they're capturing is glorious victory, dreaming big, perseverance, all wrapped in the persona of an elite athlete, right? And this 99.9% of people aspire to be that. We are not elite athletes, but people that buy into Nike, we are wearing our Nike leggings to brunch and we have no intention of working out or doing anything remotely athletic that day, but we still buy into the brand because there's a strong persona and personality behind that brand. So, a good litmus test is like, if your brand was a person, who would they be? Like, do they have a gender? What is their go-to outfit? What's their power outfit? Like, what are their hobbies? How do they spend their time? And that starts to help you form a persona behind the brand. This is also a good question I like to ask all the time in research when we're doing consumer research. Is like, instead of going, what do you think about so-and-so brand? Because most consumers, it's very functional. Like we go back to part 1 video, we know what the what is, we kind of know the how is, we don't really know the why is. So if you just ask like, what do you think about this brand, this product, they're going to list off a bunch of functional things that they either like or do not like about the brand or product. And that's not what brand is about. So if you ask the questions like, if this brand, and then I usually show them a mood board that we put together as visual stimulus, what kind of human would it be? This works very well, even if they are not even familiar with the brand or product. And you can subconsciously pull out, what's what's occupying them in their emotional mindset, right? Like branding is all about like what's in people's minds, not necessarily what we are trying to say we are. So how do we just establish this persona? And we like this like three-stooled leg analogy, right? Like we like three legs to stand on. Three is a very strong number, but it's also a very concise number. Because if you go beyond three, you can't execute on that. It gets too complex and too complicated. If you have two, it kind of falls flat. So three is a nice, easy number that gives you that healthy tension within the personality of the brand and the persona of the brand. So it's a three-legged stool, personality word, persona word. Authentic was really big. It's not really a problem that I'm seeing any longer, but maybe like 5-10 years ago, we would be like, my personality is authentic. And you're like, authentic to what? Right? Like, so that's kind of a throwaway word. So I do not want to see authentic as one of your personality words in one of your three-legged stools. So this was a personality and persona I developed for an endurance athlete brand, right? So they're methodical, they're a direct personality word. Kind of like I was illustrating, like these two things are pretty similar where I'm defining the sandbox of who this person is. They're methodical, they're very type A, they like kind of like count and have charts for everything. They're direct, like they don't beat around the bush. They're kind of no nonsense, like they know what they want. They're kind of like obsessive and like addicted to the endurance athlete as a sport, right? And then these two on its own, you're like, okay, like I can kind of see who this person is, but it's just not very exciting, right? Like I like to say, it's not very sexy. Like there's something alluring about this persona right now. There's no like healthy tension there. They kind of say the same thing as each other. They're slightly different shades of each other. So then I usually like to reserve the third one as the one that kind of defines it and brings it to the next level and makes things interesting, creates that healthy tension. Methodical, direct, and maniacal. See, now it's really interesting. You want to know what this brand has to say. Another thing, so this is personality. So we would never get to earn your personality as a human, as a brand, right? You don't go to someone and be like, hey, so like I'm really smart. And they're like, okay, sure. Or like, I'm really funny. You just show them that you're smart. You show them that you're funny. So one of our ways of this tactic is having our personality pay off in tone of voice, right? So because I'm methodical, my tone of voice, the way I'm speaking is very authoritative, right? Like I have a lot of credibility. Because I'm direct, it's very matter of fact, it's concise, it's no nonsense. Like there's not a lot of fluff that's happening here. And because I'm maniacal, I'm passionate. There's this energy, it's almost like neurotic, obsessive. It's someone that like loves what they do so much. And we want that to come through in tone of voice and the brand as a whole. And once you have your persona and you've defined your personality pillars and tone of voice pillars, this all impacts everything that the brand does, from its brand name to its logo, to its color palette, typography, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Even to like what the product innovation pipeline, everything should pay off of those things in service of this elite type A endurance addict. Even as far as like the workplace culture, I've talked a little bit about Patagonia as a grid brand case study, right? Like when you apply to work at Patagonia, you know what their culture is all about, right? And then especially nowadays with, the way we're working and the workforce in flux, we are becoming a little bit more picky about our work-life balance and where we want to spend the time, right? So like, it's not about just getting our consumers, but also talking to our employees and our investors and our retailers, right? Everything kind of radiates from this persona once you have it defined. So ignore that last side, that needs to be deleted. So that is Indistinct Everyone persona there. And next week, we will cover undifferentiated expected messaging. See you next time. Bye.